Most papers don't get rejected because the science is weak. They get rejected because the results and discussion are poorly written. The novelty might be there, but what's the point when the authors fail to showcase it well? Your results and discussion section is arguably the most important part of your paper. Why do other researchers choose to read your paper? Because of the results. Even if they would be interested in your methodology, be sure they'll look into what kind of results you obtained using your method before they follow your work any further. Results and discussion are the backbone of your article, period. And getting it poorly done is the most expensive mistake you can make. In this video, I'm going to show you how to craft your results and discussion section that the reviewers can actually follow, trust, and respect, both for research articles and review papers. We'll break down what belongs in result and what absolutely doesn't, how to write discussion that positions your work, not just explains it, and how to avoid the silent errors that lead to desk rejections and major revisions. This is not about writing more, it's about writing correctly. Wait a second, before we get started, please make sure that you like this video and hit the subscribe button. Oh, and don't forget to turn on the notification. This will keep you tuned as I share useful content week after week. Thank you. Before you even write a single sentence, you need to understand how the journal wants the results and discussion to be structured. Sometimes these sections are combined, sometimes they're completely separate. That decision is not yours. It's dictated by the journal's guidelines, templates, and formatting requirement. And this is not a technicality. Following the journal's guidelines is a sign of respect for the journal, for the editors, for the reviewers. When you ignore them, you dramatically increase the risk of technical rejection before your science is even evaluated. So this also means something else that many researchers overlook. You should know which journal you're submitting before you even start writing your paper. And if you don't know how to find the right journal, I made a complete video for it, and I'll put the link in the description of this video so you can check it out and see how to do that. Now, let's focus on results section itself, starting with the research articles. One of the most common mistakes I see, especially among the juniors, is confusion between results and discussion. The logic of the results section is actually very simple. You report what you found. Nothing more. Pure numbers, figures, percentages, fold changes, no interpretation, no explanation, no justification is needed here. The easiest way to write a strong results section is to start from the core of your paper. Your figures, tables, schemes, and graphs. If those are ready, the writing becomes almost mechanical. Again, there is a complete video on this extremely effective workflow that I teach, which has helped my mentees craft papers in as few as 9 days. Make sure you watch this video. Here's the essence. For writing any paper, you start by putting together the core of your article. Figures, tables, schemes, graphs, literally whatever shows your findings. Then look at figure 1 and describe precisely what the readers see. Figure 1 shows a threefold improvement. Figure 2 demonstrates a signal enhancement of X times. Figure 5 shows that this value is 20% higher than the other. Exact numbers, clear comparison, nothing extra. And here is a critical point. I want you to pay attention to this. Just because something appears in a figure or in a table doesn't mean that you don't need to report it in the text. You absolutely do. Images support the text. They do not replace it. Every key result must be reported clearly, sequentially, and logically in the text in a way that makes a complete sense to the reader's brain. So the workflow is simple. You prepare your figures and tables first. That's the backbone of your article. And then you walk through them one by one, carefully reporting what you see. This is your result. Numbers, figures, percentages. Now let's talk about discussion section, because this is arguably the most crucial part of your paper. Your methodology is extremely important. You need to demonstrate that your work is built on a solid methodological foundation. But after methodology, the discussion section is the section that gives meaning to everything else. This is where you position your work. That's exactly where you establish novelty and convince editors and the reviewers that your paper actually matters. So how do we do the discussion properly? The discussion comes in 3 main layers. Layer 1, interpretation of the results. Before anything else, you go back to the result, then go down the text, section by section, paragraph by paragraph, and now start interpreting what you reported in the results section. Remember, in the results section, you only describe what you observed, numbers, figures, percentages, no interpretation. This is the place where the interpretation begins. You explain what those numbers actually mean. If the result shows a 20% improvement, the discussion answers What does that 20% actually represent? Does it mean higher engagement, more accurate diagnostic, faster performance, lower cost, whatever that might be? This is layer one of the discussion, interpretation of your own findings, systematically and carefully. Layer two, comparing and contrasting with the state of the art. Research does not exist in isolation. You cannot think as an independent researcher detached from the field. Science advances because it is built collectively on what others are doing, discovering, and challenging. If this part is missing, your discussion is fundamentally incomplete. Here, you compare your interpreted result with the state of the art. And within the AAA program, we have a dedicated blueprint for this called external validation, a structure that many of my students rely on extensively. It's helped them not only to publish papers, but also secure national and international fundings. One of my mentees used this framework and applied for NIH funding and successfully secured it. Now, here is the key point. Comparing and contrasting does not mean only citing works that agree with you. You must address studies that support your findings and studies that contradict your findings. Both matters. It's perfectly normal and scientifically healthy to find literature that reports opposite outcome. Let me give you a concrete example. Suppose your results show a 20-fold increase after your intervention. In your discussion, you first interpret what does that increase mean. And then after that, you go to the literature, ideally focusing on the work from the past 3 years and at most 5 years. Why is this important? Because journals reject papers all the time due to outdated comparison. Comparing your current experiments to work from 10 or 5 years ago can make your discussion invalid. So you can cite pioneering studies and theoretical frameworks, but sparingly. The majority of your discussion references must be recent, from the past 2 to 3 years. Now, comparing means asking how many recent studies report similar improvement. What comparable interventions produce similar outcomes? These studies don't need to be identical. In fact, they shouldn't be. Identical studies would raise questions about your novelty, but they should be conceptually aligned enough to support your findings. This strengthens your paper. Contrasting, dealing with the opposing references. Now comes the part many authors avoid, and they shouldn't. Contrasting means addressing studies that report the opposite. For example, some studies may show that after similar interventions, engagement decreased. Or other may report reduced diagnostic accuracy after such intervention. This is completely the opposite of what you found. That's fine. You must cite them. You say, in line with the previous reports, we found such, and you cite the supporting references. And then you say, contrary to the previous findings, we observed such, and you cite the opposing references. And here's the responsibility that comes with that. If your findings contradict the literature, you must provide context and possible reasons. Possible explanation might be different settings, different population and culture, different instrument, different parameters and controls. You essentially offer some reasons why your results look somewhat different than the reports of the literature. You don't need to prove anything, you don't need to talk extensively about the discrepancies, but you have to demonstrate that you've thought about it and you're offering a possible reason. Because if you don't, reviewers will catch you. They will assume either, first, you didn't do the literature review properly, or you're deliberately ignoring the conflicting evidence. Either way, that's an automatic downgrade and often a rejection. Transparency here is not optional, it's essential. Layer 3, implication of your results, limitation, and future directions. Once you've interpreted your results and positioned them within the state of the art, the final layer begins. This is where you step into a thought leader role. You talk about the implications of your results and provide suggestions as to where and how they can be used to advance the field. This is a bigger picture kind of conversation that makes complete sense of your article. And here is the last crucial element that not only naturally makes the reviewers softer towards your work, but also present your maturity. Acknowledge limitations. Discuss challenges, propose future directions. You can do this within the discussion itself, or you can create a separate section called limitations and future directions. Both are acceptable. What matters is clarity and honesty. You openly state the shortcomings of your work, and then you suggest how the future research, yours or others, can move the field forward. Because the goal of publishing is not gatekeeping. The goal is to advance science through open dialogue. That's the real mission of a strong discussion section. That's the superpower. Have you been struggling with shaping up your results and discussion section? Drop the word results in the comment section below and I'll send you a guide to get this part right. Now, let's talk about the results and discussion in a review article, because the structure here is slightly different from a research paper. In a review article, the results section is not about your experiments. It's about a systematic synthesis of the state of the art. This is where you organize what's already known. You summarize the existing literature, you categorize findings, you create tables, charts, and graphs. You show patterns, distributions, and percentages. For example, if your review is about teaching modalities and students' engagement, you can synthesize the literature like this. Out of 100 studies, how many focused on online teaching? How many on hybrid models? How many on in-person, group-based, or private teaching? You can then quantify these trends. You can now show a percentage of the studies using each of these techniques and formats, differences in reported engagement, patterns across study designs. These become numerical results, even though they come from the literature rather than your own experiments. So the results section of a review article is about a structured, quantitative synthesis of the papers you have shortlisted for your review article. Now, the discussion section in a review article plays a very different role. Here you step back and interpret the bigger picture. Your purpose is not only interpreting, it is the critical synthesis. You analyze overall trends across the studies, why certain findings agree or disagree, strengths and weaknesses of the existing literature, missing elements and knowledge gap, areas of opportunity, future research. And just like the discussion section in a research paper, you also discuss practical implications, theoretical implications, directions the field should move towards, and make useful suggestions. This is where you turn a collection of studies into a coherent narrative. So yes, there are mutual elements between research papers and review papers in terms of results and discussion, but the logic is slightly different. In research papers, you report and interpret your own data. In review articles, you synthesize and interpret everyone else's data. Understanding this distinction is critical. And before we close, a small but important note, especially for early career researchers. It's called results and discussion. No result and discussions, no result and discussion. Results, plural, discussion, singular, because you present multiple results to arrive at one coherent discussion. Keep that in mind. At the end of the day, strong papers are not written by chance. They are constructed deliberately. Results section is where you report clearly and precisely what you found, but the discussion is where your paper earns its place in the field, where you position your work, confront the literature honestly, and show reviewers that your contribution actually matters. If there is one takeaway from this video, let it be this: good science deserves good structure. If you approach results and discussion with that mindset, you don't just improve your writing, you improve how your work is perceived and received. And if you want to go deeper into the system we teach inside the AAA framework, the one that our mentees use to write clearly, efficiently, and with intention, you can book a free strategy call with me. I dropped the link in the comment section. And here is a reminder again. You choose the journal before you even write one sentence. This video shows you how. And you start structuring your paper from the core. It's never a top to bottom approach. It starts from the heart of your paper and branches out from that core. Watch this video to see how my mentees have championed crafting entire papers in 9 days.